We have yet another prospect promotion. Let's break it down on Fantasy Baseball today in 5. Welcome into FBT in 5. Today is Monday, May 15th. I am Frank Sanfield, joined by Scott White, and the Reds are calling up Matt McLain on Monday, and in 38 games at AAA this season, he was slashing .348, .474, .710 with 12 homers and 10 steals. This is a former first-round pick in Matt McLain. He's only 10% rostered, has shortstop eligibility on CBS, widely available. Scott, what are your thoughts on Matt McLain? Is he a must-add in fantasy baseball?
Well, I mean, my rule for prospect call-ups this year has been treat them like a lottery ticket. So I don't know. Can you afford to roster a lottery ticket? He has been great at AAA, and I have hope for him, as I have hope for most prospect call-ups. But the success rate has been pretty low recently. You gave the numbers. They're very good. It seems more like he seems more like a skills prospect than a tools prospect, if you know the difference there. For example, McLean is 5'8". Baseball America in their preseason write-up said he didn't have a lot of functional strength, yet he's managed to put up huge numbers. I see it as, I see a lot of like Alex Bregman in him in terms of getting good power numbers despite not having a lot of raw power, having good plate discipline. And hopefully those skills can translate to the majors for McLean, especially given the home environment he's entering into, the easiest place to hit home runs. They need a shortstop. That's been a hole for them all year, so he should get a lot of playing time. I'd take a flyer on him at this point over Zach Neto, for instance, or Bryson Stott. I think up to that point where I'd go ahead and take a shot on McLean. If I needed an upgrade there, certainly if I had a hole at shortstop, I'd do it. And hopefully it'll work out. He should, if nothing else, he should stick around.
Again, that is Matt McLain being called up by the Reds on Monday. Let's move over to the pitching side of things. And the latest arm injury to a pitcher, Drew Rasmussen, randomly, out of nowhere, placed on the 60-day IL on Friday with a right flexor strain. So we need help on the waiver wire. Eury Perez, I think that is the obvious place to turn as of now. Big Marlins prospect called up this Friday, and he was facing the Reds. He went 4 2/3, 2 runs, 7 strikeouts with 16 swinging strikes in that start. He's up to 75% rostered. Scott, what did you think of Eury Perez in his debut?
I mean, he was as advertised. It was a short start, but missed plenty of bats and missed bats with a wide variety of weapons. He has that big 70 grade fastball that's capable of getting whiffs in its own right, but he got the majority of whiffs on his slider and his curveball, and didn't throw it much, but seems to have a pretty good changeup too. So it's very impressive arsenal and very impressive command too for a guy who just turned 20. Given that he's so inexperienced, there's a lot of question how it's going to play out in the long run, obviously, and will his innings top out? At some point, yeah, they're probably going to top out at 130 or so. But I think given the upside and the initial returns, you should be very enthusiastic about him and make him a top priority off the waiver wire.
All right, well, what happens if you missed out on Eury Perez? Here's the next group of pitchers that could be available. Louis Varland turned in another quality start this weekend, 6 1/3, 3 runs, 7 strikeouts for him. James Paxton, that's right. That James Paxton, he made his Red Sox debut, and he actually looked good. 5 innings, 2 runs, 9 strikeouts to 1 walk. He had 12 swinging strikes up against the Cardinals. Tyler Wells, yet another strong start up against the Pirates. 7 shutout with 8 strikeouts for him. And Brandon Pfaadt, someone who had a bunch of prospect pedigree recently. He got rocked in his first 2 starts. He looked pretty good on Sunday up against the Giants. 5 innings, only 1 hit, 1 run allowed, 5 strikeouts. Scott, how would you rank this group? Varland, Paxton, Wells, and Pfaadt.
Yeah, it was clearly the best start so far for Pfaadt. I'm still putting him last of this group. He needs to show me a lot more. Has been too homer prone, but it was an encouraging step for him. Let's leave him out of this discussion. Between Varland, Paxton, and Wells, I think that's the order I'd go. It kind of depends, how shallow the league is, how big of a swing you can take, and specifically, I'm referring to Paxton there because We know he's made of glass, and it may not last very long, but boy, was it impressive. What he averaged on the fastball was the most he's averaged on his fastball. Well, at least if you're looking at season-long numbers since 2016. And obviously, it's been a long time since we've seen him pitch for any length of time at all. So that his stuff looked as good as it did with the 9 strikeouts, I think is it's very encouraging. It suggests there's plenty more in the tank here if he can just stay healthy. So he would be my second choice. Louis Varland was actually be my first. The swinging strikes have been very consistent for him. He's homer prone in his own right. He's going to give up some hard contact. Maybe the ERA is going to wind up north of 350, but he's going to work 6 innings consistently and give you good strikeout numbers. So Varland 1, Paxton 2. I'm going to go Wells 3 here, but he's rising. He's rising because he has done a great job of limiting base runners, keeping batting average against very low with a high strikeout rate. It's the same formula for success that Bailey Ober and Tristan McKenzie have used. Hadn't seen much strikeout potential from Wells until this start, till he got the 8 strikeouts on 18 swinging strikes. Maybe it was just a bad day for the Pirates, but if it does continue for Wells, then I think there's a chance he turns into a real asset.
All right. For more extensive fantasy baseball coverage, listen to the Fantasy Baseball Today podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, the Audacy app, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Thanks for listening to Fantasy Baseball Today in 5, and we'll be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.